Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the new health conversation. You can see there, counting calories won't make you slim for life. It's what's inside the calories that count. Maybe that's a completely new concept for all of you, but all the major medicals investigators like the Harvard Medical School said stop counting calories. Most people have been taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories, specifically 3,500, and you lose a pound. But as it turns out, experts are learning that this decades-old strategy is totally misguided. They go on to say this idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. She goes on to say, drop the calories notion. It's time to take a different approach by concentrating on what's in our food, not how much food we're consuming. So they're really backing up exactly what I've been saying over and over again on these podcasts and all my research. I've been a nutritional researcher for 22 years. I've written 4 best-selling books with some of the biggest medical doctors around. I've done 20 shows on PBS. I was interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America and did over 1,500 lectures all over the world, including in hospitals and universities, and also they even flew me to China. I understand that a lot of people really get upset because they're so tied into this whole idea of counting calories. But it won't make you slim for life. There's not one shred of evidence proving that lowering calories has ever been proven as a long-term weight loss strategy. You can lose weight on any diet, but the weight you're losing is some of the most unhealthy weight you could ever imagine. Here's another big study where they said why you shouldn't count calories. They said, truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories gain back more weight than they lost. So you're literally going on a diet to gain weight. Hi, Marilyn. How would you like to lose as much weight in 7 days as in 8 weeks of any diet you've ever been on? How about losing as much weight in a month as a year on diets? Has nothing to do with counting calories, because you can see counting calories, it won't make you slim for life. No matter what all of you, whatever opinions you have, that's great. You're entitled to grandpa. But the point is that diets just, they're not working. You can't tell me anybody put in here a diet where you've been able to lose weight and keep it off for years and years and years. That just doesn't exist until now. There are now 10 new peer-reviewed human trial studies where men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. And they've also been able to maintain the weight loss now for more than 6 years. So again, I'm Peter Greenlaw. I started the New Health Conversation movement, and you can see the headline, Counting Calories Won't Make You Slim for Life. It's what's inside the calories that counts. It's not the amount of calories. As a matter of fact, Conjo, the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Why are you counting calories? Why are we counting calories? Hi, Myla Min. How would you like to lose a whole dress size in 7 days with no exercise? How would you like to lose as much weight in a week as 8 weeks of any diet? How about Sherry? How about losing as much weight in a month as a year on diets, losing no water, and gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? Okay. Well, apparently none of you, with 80% of America overweight and 50% obese, apparently everybody coming on today, they must not think that they're overweight. But the main reason to do something different is not about losing weight. Losing weight is like, hi, Sandra. How would you like to lose as much weight safely in a week as in 8 weeks of dieting? Okay, I guess you wouldn't. So I just keep waiting for people to understand that counting calories is just complete and utter nonsense. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It won't work. It's never worked. Why in the world are we counting calories? Because people told us to? Because that's the mantra? Because just like 550 years ago when the smartest people in the world told everybody what? That the world was flat and everybody believed them. Now all the pushback that I see, that I get lots of it. Well-intended people telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, that, CECO, calories in, calories out, is the only way to lose weight. Totally utter nonsense. The only thing that matters to your body is what's in that calorie, which is called nutrition. So instead of counting calories, we need to be focusing on counting nutrition. So Lily or Mike, imagine losing as much weight safely in a week as in 8 weeks of any diet you've ever been on. How about losing as much weight in a month as a year on diets, losing no water, and gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? You can see I put a website down at the bottom, the New Health Conversation. There's the medical proof of 10 new peer-reviewed human trial studies that have made every calorie counting diet obsolete. There's no way in heck that you would go to that website, which is free, and we won't even contact you, and see the medical proof of this breakthrough. But why in the world, like say Dark Knight or Lily, why would you go on a diet for 8 weeks to lose weight you could lose in a week And the other problem is the diet you're going on in 8 weeks, you're losing the most unhealthy weight on the planet. We know based on the medical studies that up to 40% of what you lose on any diet is lean muscle mass. It is not fat. That's proven over and over and over again. And when you lose lean muscle mass, your body's natural reaction, two of the most unhealthy things you could ever do to yourself. One, it slows down your metabolism. Secondly, the other thing it does, it actually interferes with your own immune system. So yeah, you're going on a diet. We're not arguing the fact you can lose weight on any diet, but what kind of weight are you losing? You're losing weight in the most unhealthy way you could ever do to your own human body. And when you slow down metabolism, it's not like you come off the diet and then all of a sudden you can turn your metabolism back on. That's not how it works. The human body doesn't work that way. So Lily, I'm just curious. Yeah, researcher of researchers. That's me. I'm the researcher of the researchers. It's not my research, but we're bringing it to you. And you can see right above your post there, the new health conversation. That website is completely free to go. There's nothing to buy. We're not going to call you if you go there. So don't think you're going there and you're going to get a phone call from us. The only way we'll contact you is if you like what you see, you can scroll down and sign up for a free, and I mean free personal consultation with one of our coaches. Not only will the coach do the free personal consultation with you, but then if you do decide to do this, they will follow you the whole journey as you're going through this. So I hope that you will, for your own benefit, not for mine. I don't want you to believe me, okay? But when you have 10 peer-reviewed human trial medical studies that separate this from any diet that's ever been studied on the planet. No, it's not. This isn't even a diet. As a matter of fact, the main reason to do this is not to lose weight. Bob or Nana, imagine losing as much weight in a week with no exercise as in 8 weeks of any diet you've ever been on. How about losing as much? I forgot to tell you that, Lily. No exercise. No one was allowed to exercise in these studies because they didn't want exercise to be an outlier. We've known for a long time that exercise is not a strategy to lose and keep weight off long term. It just isn't. It doesn't work. It's great for cardiovascular, and that's why you should do it. But as far as a weight loss strategy, no, it's never been proven. Just like counting calories has never been proven to keep weight off long term. And I got the study right here where they said, while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. And what's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to counter restrict their calories gain back more weight than they lost. So this whole thing about calories in, calories out is total nonsense, complete and utter nonsense, because the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Now, what the body cares about, and I hope we're going to see this change on the labeling here soon, they're going to start to put the nutritional content, because that's the only thing your body can use. It doesn't use calories. It doesn't know what a calorie is. So here we are counting calories for what? It's just all a calorie is a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. What the body cares about is nutrition, called fuel. And why is nutrition so important? Because it's nutrition that runs our brain, our heart, our kidneys, our lungs, all our organs in the body. So my point is that for some reason, all of us have been tricked into thinking, look at all the people on social media. That's all they're telling you. I don't care what the name is, intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, paleo, keto, Mediterranean. All they're doing, they're all telling you exactly the same thing. They're telling you that, yeah, go ahead, JD, let's give it a shot. All they're telling you is that the only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Nothing could be farther from the truth. And it's not because I say so, because we had people like Harvard Medical School going, stop, this is Harvard Medical School, stop counting calories. Most people have been taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories, specifically 3,500, and you lose about a pound. But as it turns out, experts are learning that this decades-old strategy is totally misguided. Harvard Medical School goes on to say, this idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. Drop the calories notion, Stanford said. It's time to take a different approach by concentrating on what's in the food, not how much food we're consuming. I don't know her. I have no idea. We've been talking about this. We wrote the definitive book about this in 2010 called Why Diets Are Failing Us. Because we're counting calories and ignoring what's in the calorie. It's that simple. This is craziness what we're doing. See, the body has a minimum amount of nutrition that it runs on. And when you go on a diet, what you're really doing, tell me I'm wrong, you lower the amount of food you're consuming. You lower the amount of food you consume, you lower the amount of nutrition. When the body figures out there's not enough nutrition, fuel, it absolutely goes into starvation mode, prevents you from burning fat, and turns to your muscles for fuel. Every diet out there that they've studied, about 40% of the weight loss, I know that you like the needle moving to the left and your weight's going down, but 40% of what you're losing is your lean muscle, which is going to set you up for failure, because when you lose lean muscle, see, people get on and they want to argue. There's no arguing. This is the medical proof. When they do these studies, they do blood, stool, urine, fat, and muscle analysis. Every diet out there, you're losing up to 40% of your lean muscle, which slows your metabolism down. That's why you come off these crazy diets and you gain everything back. It's not your fault. It's the wrong approach. But the other thing it does is even worse. By losing lean muscle, you slow down your own immune system. Does anybody want to put in the chat? Does anybody think that's good? Diets simply are nonsense, nuts, crazy, calories in, calories out, over with, debunked. That's why counting calories won't make you slim for life. It won't. And that big study that I stated for you where they said, well, counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. Why are you counting calories? I get people come on, they want to argue with me all the time. The only way to lose weight, you don't know what you're talking about, calories in, calories out. Really? We have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Do you think like a 16-8, don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8, you think that works? Well, first of all, the first studies that were done on that up until recently were done on mice and rats on this don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8. Total nonsense. Now let's go to medical proof. Let's go to one of two big studies. The first one published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. These are their words from the medical study, not an opinion on my part, okay? I have no agenda here. Let me tell you what they said. They said the Journal of the American Medical Association new research found that overweight adults who were seen to routinely fast 16 hours daily gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost 2 to 3.5 pounds. And most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. Well, that's not what they're telling you. They're telling you, well, you can lose 20 pounds in a month and the majority of what you're losing is fat. Nonsense. Show me the medical proof. They don't have any. But let's go into one other big study because see, the argument has been with that basically you can, eat healthy, but you can eat as much as you want on that 8-hour window when you're eating. Really? Well, let's look at a brand new study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, where they said in analyzing time-restricted eating, it did not decrease to any significant degree the weight or improve glucose homeostasis, suggesting that any effects of time-restricted eating on weight loss in prior studies was due to reductions in calorie intake. Nonsense. See what I'm saying? Nonsense. And you're welcome. You believe whoever you want. You can come on here. You can jump off. You can do whatever you want to do. But if we have we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Would anybody like to put in the chat a diet that you think works, flying in the face of the medical proof? But here's a more frightening one. Johns Hopkins Medical School study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. They're saying 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese by 2030. Honestly, do any of you think these diets work? Because they don't. They work until they don't. They work and then you gain all the weight back. And then paleo didn't work, so now I'm going to do keto. This is nuts. This is the definition of insanity. And yet you're in a position for Bob or Bam Bam, where honestly, there's 10 new peer-reviewed human trial studies. And on the website, you can see it there. I'm going to put it down in the bottom for everybody again. That website is completely free to go to. And what does it have there? Only the medical proof. There's an interview with the #1 nutrition researcher in the world who invented this. So let's talk about how did they get people to lose as much weight in a week as in 8 weeks of any diet with no exercise? It was simple but complicated. These researchers, who are the top weight loss, nutrition, physiologists in the world for almost 40 years, they've done over 100 studies, thousands of people analyzing every diet out there. And here's what they concluded. Every diet, people lost weight. But every time when they did the analysis, especially lean muscle, people were losing up to 40% of the lean muscle. And every person, every time, gained back all the weight, okay? So they said, wait a minute, if we're going to make this work, is it possible to lower the amount of food people are consuming, but not lower the amount of nutrition? That was a theory, understand. Because these research, they don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They don't have a company. We don't sell you anything either, okay? So what did they do? They devised a food list. Only 30% of what you're going to consume comes from the grocery store. Only 30% of what you're buying now. The other 70% come from these 5 foods from around the world that these researchers don't sell, have nothing to do with, or myself, but they found us suppliers who had gone around the world to find foods with massive amounts of nutrition, not massive amounts of quantity, in Russia and Mongolia, in Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand. So now they had, and those 5 foods, these researchers said, make the world's most perfect meals nutritionally. That's the most important part of this whole thing. But yet, the research, they didn't know if it was going to work. So they started out and they created 2 new ways of consuming food because it really mattered when you were consuming food, how much you were consuming, et cetera, et cetera. So here's what they did. They got into a position where they were set up to put the people on these protocols. So in the first 5 days a week, they had people have 4 meals a day. They started with the World's Most Perfect Meal for breakfast. They had lunch from the grocery store, a third meal from the grocery store list, and a fourth meal, the World's Most Perfect Meal, 5 days a week. You ever heard of this on a diet where you get 4 meals a day? Then 2 days a week, they had them do something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not time-restricted eating. This is fasting but nutritionally supported. Those days, no food from the grocery store, only these 5 foods that represent the world's most perfect meals. And what did they do? On the 8th morning, when they had people weigh and measure, men and women had lost as much weight in a week as on any diet in 8 weeks they'd ever analyzed. And most women lost a whole dress size in 7 days, and men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist. Let's fast forward. After a month, men and women had lost as much weight as people lose typically in about a year on diets with no loss of water and gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. But that isn't the big part. The big part is in a month, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down dramatically. Hunger in the first 30 days came down 41%. This has never been seen on any of these stupid calories in, calories out. That's all it is. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. They don't work. I don't care how much pushback I get. I don't care how many opinions. They can't come with any medical proof. I mean, I got the medical proof saying that although you can, while counting calories and restricted calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. That's the point. Why are you going on these diets counting calories and you're doomed to failure when you start? You're better off not even going on the diet in the first place because you're losing your lean muscle mass. And losing lean muscle mass slows your metabolism down and impacts your own immune system. What are we doing? Who's telling you that? What influencers is telling you that? They're giving you lots of opinions, and with all due respect, and I don't want to disparage anybody, I see medical doctors and chiropractors and nutritionists and dietitians and workout people and health coaches and weight loss coaches. They're not giving you any. They're giving you opinions. They're not giving you, oh, well, we're going to try to cut 300 calories a day. Really? Worst thing you could ever do, ignoring the nutrition. Am I making sense? Does everyone understand this? That the main thing that's happening here is that people are so misled by what is out there, what has been out there. I mean, they started counting calories back in the 1800s. How's that turned out? Do you know in the 60s, 5% of America was overweight or obese? And this year it's 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Does that sound like diets work to any of you? And yet you have a free website right there at the bottom, the New Health Conversation, with the medical proof, proving everything I'm saying in these are published medical, in the biggest medical journals in the world. There's an interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. That interview, you'll never do a traditional, he even said they would never recommend a traditional diet to any patient ever again. They said it would be unethical. They said, Peter, why would we have people go on a diet for 8 weeks to lose up to 40% of lean muscle mass, where they could lose that much weight in 7 days, and in a month lose as much weight as in a year, lose no water weight, and gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? See, you think that I would be making this up. I'm not making anything up. You can actually go see they're published in like the Obesity Journal, in Nutrients, in Nature Communications, which is the #1 medical journal in the world. It's not up for editing or splicing no, that's not how it works. This is in the public domain. We have them on the website for you, and then we contrast other studies that are done on traditional diets. I'll read one of them right now that's on the website. New England Journal of Medicine. They did a 12-month study on lowering calories. That was one group of people. The other group of people, they had them do this time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8. 12 months, I'm reading from the study. After 12 months, the people who did calorie restriction lost about 16 pounds in a year. Those doing time-restricted eating, not eating for 16 hours and eating for 8, lost 12.6 pounds in a year. And both those lowering calories and those doing time-restricted eating lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. Again, why are you counting calories? Why? Seriously. I know that's what 100% of the people are telling you. Well, I guess we're 99.999%. I mean, anybody put a diet up there that's not some form of lowering calories. And there were all these fancy names, none of them work. Let me go to another study. This one done in the Journal of the American Medical Association. This time, it was a study of 48 different studies called a meta-analysis, right? 7,286 people done in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and they did a 12-month study. And they named pretty much all the major diets. I'll just give you, paleo, keto, Mediterranean, Cornish, zone, lose weight for your blood type. This, don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8. Atkins, Scar, I mean, on Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, and South Beach, and many, many more. Do you know in 12 months, when they looked at the most amount of weight loss to the least amount of weight loss, didn't matter what the diet was, in a year it was 10 ounces. And what they said in the study, that the average weight loss across the groups, it didn't matter what the diet was about 16 pounds, and up to 40% of what people lost was lean muscle mass. Did you know that's what's happening when you're going on a diet, that you're making yourself really unhealthy? And you have to understand, when you lose lean muscle mass, which slows down your metabolism, it's not like you go back, eat healthy, and all of a sudden you restore your lean muscle mass. According to the experts, for every pound of lean muscle you lose, it takes you about 12 months of going to the gym and being strict to regain it. So let's say you lose 20 pounds on a diet. Take 40% of that, about 8 pounds of lean muscle, take you 8 years to recover. Does that sound like something you want to do? And then you wonder why you go on the next diet, and it works until it doesn't. And then you stall, and then you come off the diet. Most people are going to the gym terrified to just maintain what they've gained, to be quite honest with you. I go to the gym all the time, and I see these people on the treadmill and the Stairmaster and running and all this stuff. They don't lose an ounce. Because again, it's the wrong situation. The body will not burn fat when it's in starvation mode. I don't care what you do, it's not going to burn fat. It burns your muscles because it's in survival mode. I mean, that's what anorexia is. As a matter of fact, late stage anorexia. Maybe you heard of Karen Carpenter, who was a really fantastic singer, and she had really late stage anorexia. And they said once her body ate all her muscles, then it ate all the fat, and then now it's out of fuel. So what did it start to eat? Her organs. And she basically died of a heart attack. So when you're going on a diet, whether you know it or not, to a degree, you're doing something like catabolic metabolism, which is a simple name for you're converting your muscles into fuel for carbohydrates. Who's telling you this? Who out there is telling you this? So, I mean, the point is, whether it's Chicken or Nicole, I mean, you have nothing to lose by going to the website. It's free to go there, and we won't contact you if you go there. And you can sign up for a free personal consultation. Free. Why wouldn't you do that? Don't let your skepticism prevent you from changing the rest of your life. I lost 40 pounds 22 years ago. I've maintained it for 22 years. The people in these big major studies, which were started about 6 years ago, they take a long time. They cost a lot of money. They're done on human beings. These people who lost these tremendous amounts of weight like 6 years ago, they've maintained it for 6 years. You know what the program's called? R2M. You know what it stands for? Race to Maintenance. So the first goal is to get your goal as quickly and safely as possible. That's the end of the beginning. Then starts the real, the wonderful part, and that's maintaining what you've been able to, what you're able to lose. I know it sounds too good to be true. I do this all the time. I do 3 or 4 of these podcasts a day, and people come on, and all the time they want to, I mean, I know they're pretty much in shock. Wow. Wow. Lord, my family member's blood pressure 20 points on this protocol, and I tried everything before. The main reason to do this is not to lose the weight. That's a given. We almost joke about that. But it's to maximize all your bodily functions, like blood pressure. They all came down dramatically in a month. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides. Triglycerides came down 25% in a month. But even beyond that, hunger came down 41% in a month. But here was the other big one. Inflammation, which is the underlying cause of every disease out there. No diet, no calories in, calories out has ever touched it. That came down 25% in 30 days. The main reason to do this is not to lose weight. I know it's important to everybody, okay, including myself, to see the number move. But imagine, see the number move and then have it never come back to the right again. You want that number to move to the left. I mean, that's how, or maybe you get an electronic scale and it's the same type of situation. But Nicole or Chicken, I know it sounds too good to be true. I'd love for you to put in the comments, are you looking to lose weight? What have you tried or haven't tried? Or does this make sense to you? Do you understand why it's so important that you're in a position where you can access the real medical proof, and then you get to make a choice? Because if you go to the website, we're not going to contact you. So for everybody just coming on, counting calories won't make you slim for life. It's just, there are 10 peer-reviewed new human trial studies which basically are making calorie counting completely obsolete, despite the opinions that I get and the snarly comments and whatever. Because people, they want to be right. They want to be right about something that doesn't work in the long run. I mean, honestly, would any of you like to put in the chat, tell me, if 80% of America's overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic, does that sound like diets are working? I mean, go to Barnes and Noble and look at how many titles. I actually have another study over here. This I'm holding in my hand. This is of 110 different studies of diets. I mean, it's bordering on the absurd. The calories don't count diet, egg and wine diet. How about the false Mayo Clinic diet? Let me give you a couple more in here that are just ridiculous. How about the diet of Sleeping Beauty? How about it doesn't matter. I don't want to waste your time. 110 diets are all the same. At the end of the day, when you analyze them, they're having you reduce the amount of food. They're tricking you into reducing they're dressing it up, drink more water, do more steps, whatever. At the end of the day, you're consuming less food, which means you're consuming less nutrition. The body doesn't care about calories. What are you counting calories for? That's ridiculous. What the body cares about is nutrition. So now if we're going to have a discussion about nutrition in, nutrition out, that's a whole different ballgame. But no one's talking about that. At least I can see, because I get all this, if I get any feedback at all, it's mostly negative, that I don't know what I'm talking about. Really? You don't do 20 shows on PBS and be interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America and do over 1,500 lectures all over the world at universities and medical schools. They even flew me to China. Kind of if you don't know what you're talking about or you're making something up. I don't have to make anything up. What separates me from all the naysayers, and I support them, because they've been brainwashed into believing this concept that doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work in the long run. There's just no, it's just positive. I mean, again, while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. Why are you going on a diet? Are you going on a diet just that you lost some weight, you feel good for a month or 2 months, and then you gain it all back, and then you go in, well, that keto didn't really work. No, you had the wrong approach. Paleo, keto, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, Cornish, zone, you lose weight for your blood type, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Noom, Goom, Golo, whatever it is, none of them work long-term. It's all nonsense. Because if any of them work, they'd want to have peer-reviewed human trial studies to prove what they're claiming. Yeah, you can visit the New Health Conversation to learn more. You can see it right there at the bottom. And we're not going to contact you if you go there, so don't think that. That's not what we're doing. And for all of you that are coming on now, counting calories won't make you slim for life. It's what's inside the calories that count. Study after study. Listen, these researchers in this big one of the 10, we have 10 peer-reviewed medical studies now. Is that good enough for all of you? In the biggest medical journals in the world, but the one in Obesity Journal in particular, that one group of people did this new protocol invented by the world's #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. One group of people. The other group of people did the Mediterranean diet, which has been voted the #1 diet 7 years in a row. Not paleo, not keto, Mediterranean, #1, not time-restricted eating, all nonsense, okay? Well, in the studies, the people who did the Mediterranean diet consumed less food than the people who did the protocol is called R2M in the Obesity Journal. This is right in the medical study. It took people in the Mediterranean diet 8 months to lose 10.2 pounds. And of the weight they lost, they measured up to 40% was their lean muscle mass. And a year later, all the people in the study had gained back all their weight on the Mediterranean diet. Now let's contrast to the people on the R2M. First, no one was allowed to exercise. It was 80% women, 20% men. Well, first of all, like I said, it took people on the Mediterranean diet 8 months to lose 10.2 pounds. These people pretty much lost, well, I can tell you exactly, they lost 16 pounds in a month, lost in the water, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. And 6 years later, because these studies were started about 6 years ago, although they just got published, it just takes a long time, a lot of money, they've maintained their weight loss. Hell, I lost 40 pounds 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. Isn't that what should be important to you? But I'll tell you this, the weight loss is the least important part of this, even though I know it sounds phenomenal. It's improving your overall health. I mean, in a month's time, lowering blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides with no exercise, lowering hunger by 41% in a month, lowering inflammation. No diet's ever touched this. Lowering inflammation by 25% in a month. And in 8 weeks, they shrank the belly fat by 33%. No one allowed to exercise. But there's another huge reason to do this now. For all my critics that say, calories in, calories out, which have no impact on what I'm going to share with you next. This is a new medical syndrome called TDOS. It's registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. T for toxicity, D for deficiency, O for being overweight, S is for stress. I have it, you have it, every person in the world. What does it mean? It means you're breathing, drinking, eating chemicals, whether you know it or not. And what our body's doing to protect us is taking the chemical and stuffing it inside the visceral fat, that's the fat around the organs. Well, in these studies, they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, proving that this was assisting the body in removing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and these toxins that we can't avoid, whether you think you're toxic. Heck, they did a study on newborn infants about 8 or 9 years ago, and they said every new baby coming in the world, they looked at their cord blood at birth. They had about 287 toxic chemicals in their blood at birth. You don't think you're toxic? I'm not saying, no, I'm not questioning any of you. I'm making a statement. No diet touches this. Do you understand? We're becoming chemical repositories for all this stuff. Did you see the thing on Starbucks coffee about 2 months ago where they said 1 cup, you're getting 25,000 microplastics in every cup of Starbucks? Does that sound good? Well, in these studies, they proved that this was assisting the body in removing even the component of a plastic that's so bad are called a phthalate. And what do phthalates do? They massively increase estrogen in women and lower testosterone in men. Not a good thing to have happening. The main reason to do this, I know your big motivation is weight loss, but what if can you imagine, and you're going to lose weight 8 to 10 times faster than any diet? If that's the least important part of this, doesn't that excite you? Doesn't that interest you? Wow, really some great comments down there for all of you. So would anybody else like to ask me any questions? I'm going to go over exactly. Okay, let me review one more time. The researchers who invented this don't sell a product. They don't have a company. They're scientists. For 38 years, they've done over 100 studies, thousands of people on pretty much all the diets you could name. And what they found was on every diet you've been on, you're thinking about going on, people lost weight. But when they did the measurements, especially of muscle mass, every person lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. It didn't matter what the name of the diet was. As a result, two of the most unhealthy things happen to your body when you go on a diet by lowering calories and ignoring the nutrition. As you lose lean muscle mass, your body automatically slows down your metabolism. As bad as that is, that's why you plateau, or that's why you come off the diet and gain everything back. Who's telling you that, by the way? Secondly, the more deadly part of this, it also interferes with the effectiveness of your own immune system. So yeah, that number on that thing on the scale is moving to the left, or if you have a digital scale, it's going down, of course. But that's the least important part of this, because if that weight loss is up to 40% lean muscle, you're making yourself unhealthy. You're making yourself unhealthy by counting calories and ignoring the nutrition that the body needs. It's that simple. Am I making sense to everybody? Does everybody get that? Hi, Kelly. The point is that these researchers for 38 years were looking for the silver bullet for weight loss. And let me repeat again, the researchers who invented this, they don't have a product, they don't have a company, they have no agenda. So you don't buy anything from them. You don't buy anything from us. You buy 30% of the food that the researchers, they set this up. They allocated only 30% of the food you would consume comes organic, and you'd get a grocery list of the amounts and the quantities, etc. Okay, that's all part of it. It's all free. Secondly, there are 5 foods that the researchers found other researchers, suppliers who for 25 years had gone around the world to Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand. And those 5 foods, the researchers said, represented the world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint of view. I don't care how much organic you think you're eating right now. In 200 studies, they proved organic is slightly better than regular food nutritionally. The main reason to do organic is it's less polluted, not because it's wildly more nutritional. Okay, let's get that on the table. And I'm sure that's going to make some people mad, but it's only science, right? So the researchers knew that if they'd done this, they'd given people over almost 40 years, reducing the amount of food, even organic, and people basically were in deprivation, lost lean muscle mass. So the theory was, could we lower the amount of food, but not lower the amount of nutrition? So that's why they limited only 30% of the food people consume to what they bought from the grocery store. And the other 70% came from these 5 foods from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, made up the world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint of view. These are not lotions, potions, pills, capsules. No, these are foods. Okay, so now they had the ingredients. And then what they did, they created 2 new ways of consuming the food, which we would teach you. The first one is called protein pacing. So 5 days a week, this will blow your mind. You have 4 meals a day. You start your day with the world's most perfect meal. You have a lunch from the grocery list. You have a third meal from the grocery list, and you end your day with a fourth meal from the world's most perfect meal. I know it's hard to wrap your mind around because you're so used to diets and deprivation. But we have the medical proof that people's hunger went down 41% in 30 days. Does that sound like something that would excite you? You ever been on a diet for 30 days? But if you make it to 30 days, you're ready to eat your couch, okay? So 5 days a week, they had people do this. It's called protein pacing, where they had 4 meals a day, starting with the most perfect meal, regular lunch from the grocery store list. The researchers provided a third meal from the grocery list, and the last meal was from the world's most perfect meal. Then 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not time restricted eating. On those days, only the world, no food from the grocery store, only the world's most perfect meals, which you have 4 times a day, about every 3 hours. I mean, we work with people that weigh 600 pounds. They're not hungry. They're shocked because, again, they've been concentrating on empty calories. I mean, temporarily, food's pleasurable. There's no doubt about it, right? But with no nutritional value, it wanes pretty quick. That's why people have these insatiable appetites. We've got I think we have something like over 2 or 3 million people now in the United States that weigh over 500 pounds, according to the Learning Channel. Does that sound like diets are working? And also, what you would get, it's called the Blueprint of Success, which is exactly what they did in the medical trials. I know you can't read them. All these yellows are video instructions from the researchers who don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They don't have a company. They just want to make sure that their research that they've spent 38 years of their lives inventing this gets, that people get to do it the way they did it, in the medical trials. I mean, it's all free. The coaching's free. So what we invite all people to do is to go to the website. You can see it there, the New Health Conversation, and sign up. Well, first of all, if you go there, we're not going to contact you. So let's get that out of the way. So don't think you're going there and you're going to get a phone call from us. That's not how we operate. We're scientists. We're not trying to sell you or convince you. Once you go there, if you like what you see, then you can scroll down and sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. Our coaches have done the protocol before, and they've been trained to answer all your questions. Not only will they do the consultation with you for free, but also if you decide to do it, that coach will be with you the whole time until you get to your goals, and that's all free. Oh, so I didn't even tell you that. So 30% of the food you're going to buy from the grocery store. You have a grocery list that the researchers developed. These other 5 foods which are being supplied, were supplied to the studies, those suppliers offer you, that's how sure it's going to work, 100% money back guarantee the first 30 days, no questions asked. They'll even pay return shipping. And look, of course, nothing is 100%. That would be ridiculous. Doesn't exist, right? But where's your risk here? You get to go to the website and see all the medical proof first. See, we're not, these other people that are charging you, you got to buy their program to go and see and they're giving you recipes? Really? I mean, come on. Go to Martha Stewart if you want recipe. I mean, it's so ridiculous. But people buy into it. I mean, they do, because what else, what alternative do we have? Would anybody like to tell me a diet that's not some form of counting calories or reducing the amount of food you're consuming? I'd love to know what it is, because I've never seen one. And person after person after person, it is, like I said, I keep repeating myself, 80% of Americans overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Does that sound like diets work? And yet I know New Year's, is like 2.5 weeks away, 3 weeks away, and people are going to run to their New Year's resolution. But here's a frightening study. This is Johns Hopkins Medical School. Study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. They went on to say, even more troubling, by 2048, nearly 100% of Americans will be overweight or obese. Does that sound like diets are working? In the 60s, it was 5% out of 100 were overweight or obese. I mean, this is what drives me nuts. We're here giving you free medical proof. No opinions, no tricks, no gimmicks, no games. We're just giving you the medical proof. And we won't even contact you if you go there. You have the option then to scroll down and sign up for a free personal consultation. Are you really serious about losing weight or not? Or do you think you're going to outsmart the medical of 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies? Hey, they've been studying diets forever, including these researchers. No one's ever produced a result like this. I mean, the typical diet, well, the problem with every diet they ever studied was up to 40, you're losing weight, no question. But the weight you're losing is your lean muscle mass, which is about the most unhealthy thing you could ever do. Why in the world are you doing that unknowingly? There's no there's no study out there not showing that you're losing up to 40% of your lean muscle mass on any diet. Why do it? On this, men and women lost as much weight in a month with no loss of water weight and gained, not lost. They gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise. I understand the skepticism that I create when I share the medical proof with you, but what should I water it down? Should I not tell you the results? That would be totally dishonest on our part. What we're doing is we're giving you the actual medical proof. The medical proof is irrefutable evidence. It's been reviewed by the top medical doctors and research scientists in the world in these big medical journals. See, do you know when you submit a study to one of these big journals, do you know that they don't review it? They decide if it's going to be reviewed, they send it out to other world-class experts like medical doctors and scientists. And why do they do that? Because they have to remain neutral. Otherwise, if they were doing the analysis and getting paid to do it, there'd be a prejudice. But when they send it out to other independent, peer-reviewed human trial studies that are analyzed by the top medical doctors and researchers in the world, these people come on and they want to give me opinions, and that's okay. But the opinion, it's not based on any facts. I had somebody the other day tell me there's hundreds of studies on diets. Yeah, proven they don't work. And all of the studies, when you look at them, about 40% of what people lose is lean muscle mass. And never, as in this one big study, while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep it off long term. Why are you dieting? Why are you buying into this calorie in, calorie out nonsense? We're not arguing that you can lose weight. But it's the most unhealthy weight you could ever lose, because when you lose lean muscle, not only does it slow your metabolism down, and that's why you plateau or you gain all the weight back, but it also interferes with your own immune system. Hello? Why would you do that? Because that's what we've been told. It's almost like a cult. Because I see these, comments back to me like they want to take me on. I'm just a researcher. I'm the researcher of the research, not even my research. But you can't argue with peer-reviewed human trial studies. They're irrefutable. And all the other studies that are done on diets are so pitiful. It's horrible. I read to you before, this big thing about this time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8. And the studies that were done on it up until recently were done on mice and rats. Discount that immediately, all right? But let's look at some real medical evidence on not eating for 16 hours and eating for 8. That's a big rage now, right? Well, this is a big study just published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And I'm going to read right from the study. Journal of the American Medical Association, new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast 16 hours daily gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost 2 to 3.5 pounds, and most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. Yet the influencers telling you can lose 20 pounds in a month, and the majority of what you're losing is fat. I'm believing the Journal of the American Medical Association. Also, they claim that, during that 8-hour period, you can pretty much, as long as it's healthy, you can pretty much eat whatever you want. Well, we're going to blow that one up now, too. Annals of Internal Medicine, new study just published on time-restricted eating. Actually, they did 2 groups of people. They had one group who didn't eat for 16 hours, they eat for 8, and the other group just lowered calories. Over 3 months, those who did time-restricted eating only lost 4.6 pounds in 3 months, and those doing calorie reduction lost 5.2 pounds. So the people just lowering calories did better than the people on time-restricted eating. But here's the part you want to understand. Time-restricted eating has suggested that it works without calorie reduction, okay? That's what they're claiming. But here's what the studies say. Any effects of time-restricted eating on weight in prior studies was due to reductions in calorie intake. These are medical journals. They have no dog in this hunt. They're not trying to disparage time-restricted eating, but you understand it doesn't work long term. Yeah, you're going to lose weight temporarily. But, the thing is, and I don't even fault the influencers that are telling you that stuff. They really believe that. But it's nonsense. I don't care about the before and after pictures. It's all nonsense. They don't have any medical proof. Well, the medical proof I just read to you is ridiculous. And then there was another big study done on calorie reduction and this time-restricted eating done by the New England Journal of Medicine for 12 months. Again, 2 groups of people. One just lowering calories, the other group doing this time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8. Okay, at the end of a year, the people who lowered calories lost on average about 16 pounds in a year. Those who in time restricted eating did worse. They only lost 12.6 pounds in a year. And they said right in the study, those lowering calories to lose weight and those doing time restricted eating lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. How's that sound? Does that sound, if you knew you were going to go on time restricted eating to lose 2 to 3 pounds, and the majority of it was your lean muscle, not fat, would you do it? I don't think so. But it sounds good. They paint and people are writing on whiteboards and they have all these credentials, medical doctors, chiropractors, dietitians, nutritionists, fitness people, weight loss coaches, health coaches. They don't have any proof. Zero proof. They give you generalities. They give you opinions. Those don't matter in the medical world. Now, I got to be honest. I've been doing this 22 years. Haven't written, and I'm not telling you to impress you, but I want to impress upon you. I have written 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world. I did 20 shows on PBS. I've been interviewing the 4 biggest daytime shows in America and did over 1,500 live lectures around the world in medical schools and universities. They even flew me to China. For 20 of my 22 years, that meant zero in the medical world, meant nothing. Until about 14 months ago when these 10 peer-reviewed studies came out, because they take a long time. On human beings, they cost a lot of money. They take a long time. They were started like 6 years ago. Well, now I got medical doctors left and right coming on board. Now, that doesn't mean they're not skeptical until they see the result. A lot of times it's the result or their patient going to them. Because if people are on any kind of medication, but especially high blood pressure or high blood sugar medication, we want the doctors to monitor them. We're not playing doctor here. But in many, many cases, I know this will sound, well, I can tell you right in the studies that, see, when people go on medication, and thank goodness we have them with 50% of America pre-diabetic, whether it's glucophage or metformin or these drugs or even insulin, yeah, it drives your blood sugar down, but at the same time, it pushes insulin up. Do you know in these studies that in a month's time, people's blood sugar came down 10 points, not 10%? And insulin, for the first time ever in any study, came down 41% in 30 days. And the medical doctors who had the patients, not the researchers, if you were going to run the study, you had to have a medical doctor monitor you. Why? Because at the end of a month, most of the people on high blood pressure or on blood sugar were able to reduce, with the help of the doctor, the medication by 50%. 50. So this is not in lieu of a replacement for drugs. We're not against drugs in any way. All we're saying is that if you could reduce the amount you needed, it's probably a really good thing. That's just one of the other benefits of this. And I know the thing I'm fighting is the skepticism that, so many of you have. Because I can see it all the time when people, they don't want to come on and comment. But again, you can see right down there at the bottom, the new health conversation, it's totally free to go there. There's nothing to buy. We're not going to contact you. Only if you go there and you like what you see, scroll down, you can sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. So let's go over again, why did this work? First, who developed it? The top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world for 38 years have done 100 studies on about every kind of diet out there. And they concluded that after 38 years, almost 40 years of research, that diets worked until they didn't. Because every time when they measured lean muscle mass, people lost up to 40% of the lean muscle mass. And every person who lost weight eventually plateaued. Once they stopped the diet, they gained all their weight back because they'd slowed down the metabolism. And unknowingly, they had also impacted their own immune system, making it less effective. Why would you go on a diet to make yourself unhealthy? Unless you think it's good to slow down your metabolism and lower the efficiency of your own immune system, okay? So the researchers, what they had determined was every diet they ever put somebody on, think of it differently. Forget about calories for a moment. We have a minimum amount of nutrition that our body needs to run the brain, our heart, kidney, all of our organs, right? What you do on a diet, you reduce the amount of food you're consuming. What else you're reducing? The amount of nutrition. When that happens, the body, the brain freaks out, goes in starvation mode, prevents you from burning fat, and turns to your muscles for fuel on every one of these diets, whether you think it or not, okay? You're losing up to 40% of your lean muscle. Your body has no choice. There's not enough fuel, so it slows down your metabolism and it slows down your own immune system. Do you think that sounds like a good idea? Your diet, yeah, you might fit in your skinny jeans temporarily. And then as all the studies say, there's never been a study proven long term that reducing calories keeps weight off long term. On this, these studies were started 6 years ago. They've kept the weight off now for 6 years. But also in these studies, what they did was they said, could we lower the amount of food we give to people in the new studies, but not lower nutrition? So they did it by isolating only 30% of the food they let people consume came from a grocery store list that you would actually get: proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, salads, etc. The other 70% came from 5 food groups from around the world, from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand. And those 5 food groups make up what the researchers defined as the world's most perfect meals nutritionally. Had nothing to do with quantity, had everything to do with quality. So now we have the ingredients. We have 30% organic from your grocery store list, and the other 70% from these 5 foods making up the world's most perfect meals. Then the researchers invented 2 new different ways of doing this. Number one, 5 days a week, they did something called protein pacing. What the heck does that mean? It means 5 days a week, people started in the morning with the world's most perfect meal. That was their only food. Lunch from the grocery list, a third meal from the grocery list, and listen to this, a fourth meal at the end of the day from the world's most perfect meal. So 5 days a week, you're having 4 meals. I know it's crazy. You've never been on a diet. This isn't a diet, right? Then 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these world's most perfect meals 4 times a day over about 12 hours. Now, remember, it's a theory. Let me clarify again. We don't sell you anything. The researchers don't sell you anything. They don't have a company. They don't have a product. This was a theory, all right? And they combined things that already exist: organic food, and then these 5 foods from around the world that you can't buy in your regular grocery store. You know what I'm saying? So so the bottom line is that you can do an amazing job. So in the first 7 days, when the researchers had people weigh and measure themselves, because that's another thing they have people do, they have them measure themselves. Well, most women lost a whole dress size in 7 days with no exercise. Most men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist in a week. And both men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet ever studied. Fast forward a month later, men and women had lost pretty much as much weight as people lost on diets that these researchers had studied for 38 years in a year, lost no water weight, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Oh, by the way, no one was allowed to exercise because they didn't want exercise to be an outlier, if that makes sense. I know it sounds too good to be true, but honestly, where is your risk? You can go to that website. No one's going to contact you at the New Health Conversation. You can see it down there several different times. Someone was nice enough to post it for me. And you can see the actual medical studies. If you go to this, we're not going to contact you. There's nothing to buy on that. There's no books to buy. There's no nothing. It's just a medical proof, including the thing that's the most important is an interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world, who he and his team, they're the ones that invented this, and he will tell you unequivocally in the interview, they'll never recommend any form of calories in, calories out, traditional diet ever again. He said it would be unethical. He said, Peter, why, now that we have the medical proof, why would we have people torture themselves for 8 weeks to lose weight in the most unhealthy way? And of course, then 100% guarantee they're going to gain it all back, versus doing this, they can lose that much weight in 7 days safely. And in a month, instead of losing any lean muscle mass, they can gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, lose as much weight in a month as a year, and be able to maintain and keep it off. See, the program's called R2M, Race to Maintenance. So the goal is to get you to your goal weight as quickly and safely as possible, and then teach you how to stay there. These studies were started 6 years ago. And in these studies, what they were able to do is they followed people for 6 years. They've been able to keep their weight off for 6 years. Heck, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. That's what should excite you. But I would say to you, aren't you a little bit curious, just a tiny bit curious, about the fact that you're now in a position where you could completely change your life in a week? I mean, how excited would you be if you stand on the scale once you get over the shock that it's real and it's safe? But when the number on the scale equals what you've ever done in 8 weeks, how much motivation would that bring to any of you? I'd love to hear from any of you in the comment section. People are always reluctant to comment. I get that. But the bottom line here is that just because it was never invented, does that mean it wasn't possible? You're welcome to go. There's tons and tons and tons of people on social media, and they're all telling you the same thing. Whatever diet scheme, that's what I call them, they're telling you it's some form of reducing the amount of food you're consuming, which automatically reduces the amount of nutrition you're consuming. That's why these researchers took the opposite tack. They said, can we reduce the amount of food but not reduce the amount of nutrition? Completely different, wild concept that they proved in these 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies published in the biggest medical journals in the world. See, that's what should excite you. That's what should get you really motivated to at least be curious, to go to the website. You can see at the bottom there, the new health conversation. It's 100% free. There's nothing to buy. No one's going to contact you. Okay, Tree Marie, what are the steps? Okay, let me go over it with you again. So first of all, Tree Marie, one of the things that the coaches do is, well, let's go over the basics first. So the basics were this, that the researchers, they isolated only 30% of the food you would consume would come from from foods in the United States. Why? Because our food in this country is becoming all but nutritionally bankrupt, okay? So if they were going to lower the amount of food they gave to people, they wanted to guard against lowering nutrition. So they only let you consume 30% of the food from the grocery store, and you get a grocery list. The other 70% came from 5 food groups that the researchers don't sell you. They don't have a company. They don't have a store. They have none of that. We don't sell you anything. You buy directly from the suppliers who supplied 5 foods to the researchers that come from all over the world. They come from Russia, Mongolia. They come from Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, that literally make up what's now considered the world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint. Please understand that. This is not lotions, potions, pills, capsules, supplements. No, it doesn't work like that, all right? So those 5 foods in conjunction with regular food. So now they had the ingredients. The next step was 5 days a week, they did something called protein pacing. On protein pacing, you have 4 meals a day, as crazy as it sounds. You start your day with the world's most perfect meals. You have a lunch from the grocery list that you're supplied for free. You have a third meal from the grocery list, and your last meal of the day is from the world's most perfect meals. 2 days a week, you do something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting and not this time-restricted eating thing, which has been completely debunked, by the way. You don't eat for 16 hours, eat for just another diet. There's nothing special about it. So 2 days a week, you're having just only the world's most perfect meals 4 times a day. Okay, what did they find? In 7 days, men and women lost as much weight in the first 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet that had ever been studied. Women lost a whole dress size in 7 days. Men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist. In a month's time, men and women literally lost as much weight in a month as in a year of dieting without the loss of water, and they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Now, again, what we offer you, because it's really important, it's not just what you're going to consume, it's how you consume, how much you consume, when you consume. The coaches go all over that, and we actually supply you with, it's called the Blueprint for Success, which is an exact 100% mirror image of what they did in the I know you can't read them. Those yellows, those are all instructional videos on a daily basis. And you have a free, let me emphasize, a free live personal coach, not somebody at 800 number checking off the numbers. Someone who's done the protocol and has probably coached anywhere from 100 to 1,000 people through this protocol. Because how you do it is as important as what you're going to be ingesting. If that makes any sense to you, then I would invite you to go to you can see the website right above your name, Tree Marie, the new health conversation. You can see all the medical proof. There's a 20-minute video more detailed about what they did on a daily basis on intermittent nutritional fasting days and on protein pacing days. But the most important thing on there is an interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world, who for 38 years did over 100 studies, he and his team of scientists. They're the ones that invented this. And again, let me emphasize, they don't have a product to sell. They don't have a company. They're just scientists. And they created this. And I think they've given us a great gift for mankind. I don't say that as some sort of airy-fairy kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that. But this is the real deal. This is not hype. This is not hyperbole. I understand that all of you listening to this podcast, you're having trouble believing it. I get it. But I would say to you, just because it wasn't invented doesn't mean it wasn't possible. I mean, who would have thought about the internet 30 years ago, or an iPhone, or, GPS, or any of this stuff that we now take for granted? It took them 38 years to figure this out. I mean, that's almost 4 decades, almost 40 years. So what they knew was that every diet, and they'd done they did 100 studies, thousands of people, and they figured out what didn't work. What didn't work was putting people on regular food from the United States, even organic, and lowering the quantity and ignoring the fact that you were putting people in a nutritional deficit, because our food in this country is almost nutritionally bankrupt. And thank goodness these other researchers had found, they found more than that. There were 5 specific foods that the researchers put together to create what they call the world's most perfect meal from a nutritional standpoint of view. So Tree Marie, does this make sense to you? Are there any other questions about that I can explain to you that makes it more, that's why we invite you to have a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. I mean, again, the thing I'll warn you, if you go to the website, there are before and afters there, you'll think we photoshopped them. If I showed them on this medium right now, I'd be banned. I mean, there are men and women there who lost 100 pounds and they have no loose skin. I know it's hard to believe that that's even possible, but it is possible. And for any of you that are that I tried everything before. I love that. You know, it's just like, let me just go up the comments and make sure I didn't miss any comments here. Let's see. Okay, my family helped me get rid of my depression, being protocol. Yeah. So again, if any of you want to ask me a question, I'm going to end this in about 4 or 5 minutes. But if someone comes on and you do have a question, I'm more than happy to stay longer. But I think you get the general post that counting calories won't make you slim for life. That never. It's what's inside the calories that count. And backed up, number one, I got Harvard Medical School, Stop Counting Calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not just antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. Stop counting calories, she says it's time to take a different approach by concentrating on what's in the food, not how much food we're consuming. And then this other big article or summary of a big study was this. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse is 2/3 of people try to count or restrict their calories gain back more weight than they lost. So you're going on a diet to gain weight? Well, at least 2/3 of you. Does that sound? I know it's hard to wrap your mind around because this just sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? There's no catch. There's no other shoe to drop. We're showing you the irrefutable medical proof of everything I'm sharing with you. None of it's my opinion. I don't want you to believe me. Why would you believe me? I'm the researcher of the researchers. We're bringing it to you for free. So you can make a decision without any interference from us. Because I'll tell you this, for the people that go to that website, almost 100% of them sign up for a free consultation, and then almost 100% of them want to do the protocol. But not because we convinced them and not because we sold them. We don't do that. We're scientists. We don't do that. We're trained to help you. And the person who does your free personal consultation when you start will be your coach the whole time for free. I have people put in the chat, how much is the free consultation? No, it's free. What do you have to lose? Any of you. And that's not a pun, by the way. Versus what would you have to gain? And again, that's not a pun. I mean, what diet are you on right now where you could lose as much weight safely in 7 days as in 8 weeks of any diet? What diet are you on where you could lose as much weight in a month as a year on diets, lose no water, and gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? And no one was allowed to exercise. No one was allowed to exercise because the researchers didn't want exercise to be an outlier, if that makes sense. I mean, I know it sounds preposterous and I know it sounds crazy, but the reason it's not is we have the medical proof proving that this is for real. So anyway, I guess no one else wants to ask me any more questions, so I'm going to conclude this live, and I want to thank all of you for being on here. And if you're watching on the rebroadcast, again, the most important thing you can do for yourself, not for me, is to go to the New Health Conversation and see the medical proof. And if you like what you see, scroll down and sign up for a free personal consultation. I mean free, okay? So I'm going to say thanks for watching. Watch for my podcasts. I try and do, today I'm going to be traveling, but normally I do 3 or 4 a day, probably starting around 11:30 Eastern time, and then probably every couple hours up until maybe 6:30 Eastern time, something like that. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll take advantage of, it's free to go there and there's no tricks or gimmicks, okay? So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day or night or evening or tomorrow, wherever you might be in the world.